And I call the member for Dawson.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise today to speak on the National Reconstruction Fund Corporation Bill. Just like the Albanese government's radical industrial relations agenda, Prime Minister Albanese is wanting to rush this bill through, sidestepping parliamentary scrutiny and avoiding appropriate consultation with industry. The Coalition's modern manufacturing strategy was delivering for our manufacturers. I'll say it again. It was delivering for our manufacturers. In Dawson, manufacturing champions like CQ Field Mining Services were successful in a grant through round 2 of the Modern Manufacturing Fund to transform MET sectors, the MET services, for our future growth. Mackay Business Conveyor Specialist, Dawson Australia, was another local organisation successful in round 1 of the Modern Manufacturing Fund. Businesses like CQ Field Mining Services and Dawson applied for funding through the Modern Manufacturing Fund. This fund was administered professionally through a structure of competitive grants with robust processes. By scrapping the Modern Manufacturing Fund and replacing it with a National Reconstruction Fund, this government will make it more difficult for many smaller manufacturers to access. The process outlined appears to be far more complicated and laborious. We're also being told by this no-plan government that this fund should be up and running by next financial year, but they haven't committed to a launch date yet. Industry leaders have told us this type of funding model takes years to get right, and the government has chosen to redirect the Modern Manufacturing Initiative funds without even having rolled out their own National Reconstruction Fund. This has left our manufacturing industries in the lurch without certainty. I don't get it. This is like bulldozing your house down before you build a new one. You'll have nowhere to live. The government clearly has no understanding that these delays will damage and likely cancel the businesses that they have in the pipeline. So, Deputy Speaker, what this means is the years of work from the Coalition has been lost. It begs the question, who is the National Reconstruction Fund delivering for? Is it delivering for our struggling Australian manufacturers, or is it for the Labor Party and their union mates? I find it hard to believe it's for our Australian manufacturers when this bill will put in place a Labor hand-picked board to oversee $15 billion of taxpayers' funds. The unions have already demanded a third of the positions on this board, a third of the positions. And this bill gives the minister inappropriate discretions, all while the Albanese Labor government promised the Australian people transparency. Another ridiculous union demand is that the applicants must commit to direct employment, and if the contractors or indirect workforce is used, they must be employed on the same condition as a direct workforce. This essentially enshrines compulsory unionism. To be a successful applicant, very tricky indeed. While manufacturers across the country struggle with rising power prices, Labor's focus is making it more difficult for industries to employ and keep workers, and in turn grow their businesses, because the Albanese government's budget took active steps to spitefully wipe out key features of the Coalition's industry policy. Mr Deputy Speaker, the first step for increasing manufacturing in Australia is to have affordable and reliable energy. Unfortunately, under Labor's watch, electricity and gas prices are going through the roof, and the renewable pipe dream is creating uncertainty due to lack of reliability. Another important requirement for manufacturing businesses is the cost of finance. Under the Albanese Labor government, we've seen interest rates go sky high. And Mr Deputy Speaker, speaking of sky high, the Albanese Labor government has scrapped the space industry as a priority. This is a reckless decision. Investment into the space industry can and will yield many benefits. Space and manufacturing go hand in hand, and by backing this space, Australia can deliver an entirely new space supply chain. It is important that we have total control of the development and building of our satellites to be assured there is no risk of foreign eyes receiving our intel. The satellites that we build and own can enhance our military and defence capability. With the current geopolitical tensions, it has never been more important to have our eyes on the seas. And Mr Deputy Speaker, while I talk about eyes on the seas, locally built satellites can provide monitoring for illegal fishing, coastal surveillance and early detection on foreign boats coming to our shores. Space technology for propulsion can be used for missiles and high-tech weapons to further protect our country. But everyone knows Labor is weak on border protection and soft on defence. The Coalition supported funding to companies like Gilmore Space to locally develop, manufacture and deploy satellites into low space orbit. Gilmore Space is a pioneer new space company and is a leading venture-backed manufacturer of launch vehicles and satellite platforms in Australia. Whilst Gilmore Space Manufacturing Hub is based in the Gold Coast, its launching centre is in my hometown of Bowen, smack bang in the middle of my electorate of Dawson. Bowen is located uniquely 20 degrees south of the equator, and this is the ideal place to launch a rocket and put satellites into space. These innovative guys plan to launch the Eris rocket into space later this year. If successful, it will be Australia's first homegrown orbital spacecraft. Under the Coalition Modern Manufacturing Fund, Gilmore Space was awarded $52 million to develop sovereign space capabilities in Australia. The satellites Gilmore Space intend to deploy will enhance and enable Earth observation, fire detection, enhanced navigation, be there for agricultural opportunities. And, Mr Speaker, there's also the potential for flights, for manned flights, and also deeper space missions in the future. On the back of this, there also becomes a tourism component. The Gilmore Space launch is a growing tourist attraction. Bowen could be Australia's next Cape Canaveral, with tens of thousands of people flocking to watch the launch. But let's not stop there. We could have Visitors Interpretive Centre, a simulator for those who have always dreamed of reaching the stars or walking on the moon. The space sector will create thousands of jobs, from engineers working on the development of these rockets to a tour guide handing out tickets at the launch viewing platform. The possibilities are out of this world. But alas, the Coalition's progressive and forward thinking has been completely wiped out by the Albanese government scrapping the space industry as a policy priority. This is short-sighted and takes major manufacturing opportunities away from all Australians, not just the people in my electorate. I'm also very concerned about the decision to scrap the food and beverage manufacturing as a standalone priority for Australian industry. The Coalition laid out an ambitious plan to double the value of the industry by 2030. The Prime Minister said at the last election he would leave no one behind. What a joke. He is leaving whole industries behind. Changing these priorities leaves investment decisions in limbo. Decisions like these from the Albanese government, when paired with other cuts and pillaging from our regions, make it clear to me that Labor just don't care where their food comes from. And Labor certainly don't care if the country ends up with food shortages. Maybe when this government starts to feel hungry, they might realise this is bad governing. But I fear it might be a case of too little, too late. Since coming to government, the Albanese government has been on a go slow, wasting time for our manufacturers with countless reviews, cuts to coalition programs and finger-pointing. They need to start acting like a government. The Albanese Labor government is not in opposition anymore. They are in control. They need to take control and work for all Australians. As surging costs continue to cripple our manufacturers, the challenges presented by rising energy bills, workforce shortages and disrupted supply chains smash small businesses. The Albanese government remains focused on a union-backed agenda. Instead of pleasing their union buddies, the Albanese government must address rising energy prices, increased gas costs, increased finance costs, and labour shortages. This is the only way manufacturing can succeed in this country. It is vital that government supports Australian manufacturing, and with this bill, the Albanese government is clearly and sadly leaving our manufacturing industry behind. 10 months in, the manufacturing industry can certainly say with confidence that life isn't easy under Mr Albanese.